So, what do we make of the Florida water hack? I don't think that I need to tell you about any details of this particular incident because you will have heard that already. So let's focus on some interesting items here. First, as anybody would probably have expected, the media coverage is totally blown out of proportion. So it's just another case where the media tells you more about what could have happened in a sensationalistic manner rather than about the facts that we know of, what actually did happen. And this will always be the case because we live in a day and age where media is no longer real news, but the media is just an extension of the advertising business. So the purpose of the headline is to get you click on the article so that the publisher makes, let's just say, an additional dollar in advertising revenue. So for this reason, you hear about the alleged intentions of the attackers, that they wanted to poison the good people of Oldsdale, Florida, which is certainly pure speculation because unless you're a psychic, you don't know about their intentions. And I would really doubt that the attackers intended to cause actual harm, but I will get back to that later. So that is just another case of how this type of incident is treated and will be treated in the media. In order to get a realistic picture, in order to understand what's going on, you have to pay a little bit of closer attention, try to go into the details, maybe using social media, etc. Let's focus on the most important question. And if you follow my channel, you know what that question is in situations like this. It's the question, what would have prevented this attack from happening? Very simple answer. It's appropriate remote access control. This is what they didn't have. So apparently the attacker was using a legitimate insecure remote access capability. And by the way, it's funny, getting back to the media, that some media outlets want you to assume that the fact that the operator saw the mouse pointer moving along without him doing it on his own, that was kind of like hacker magic. So certainly that's total nonsense. That is just how remote access software works. I think it was a very funny detail that tells you a little bit about the actual knowledge of these journalists. So remote access used in an illegitimate manner by somebody who apparently had the access credentials, and that would certainly already give us some clues about the potential threat actors behind this attack. One of the very first questions that you would ask if you would be involved in the forensic analysis was, well, tell me about those access credentials. Or it like default credentials or admin, something like that, which would certainly give you a totally different idea on how to assess this situation. The second question would be, this particular remote access point, was it visible on Shodan? And I just imagine, or let's just say I hope that somebody already answered that question, because that would really give you a very quick assessment of what we're looking at here. So the other interesting aspect when you consider this type of insecure remote access is, was it really necessary in the first place? And I had asked this question particularly in respect to the Ukraine incident 2015, where the point is, why would you need remote control of a manned station? That is just totally doesn't make any sense, because the only thing that you would be able to do is to sideline the local operators. Otherwise, there's no reason to have that remote access capability. So monitoring, that's okay, and that is also what emerged in this briefing, in this press briefing with the sheriff. What happened? That allegedly the remote access capability was there for the supervisor to monitor what was going on. Yes, that might be a useful and legitimate purpose, but that is totally different, as everybody in cybersecurity knows, from remote control capability. So we have monitoring, which could be / should be read-only, and then we have control capability, which is a totally different animal. And in situations like this, you certainly want to make sure that there is no remote manipulation possible in a situation where it doesn't serve any useful purpose, because you have the guys sitting there in the control room. So I mean, if you could actually operate that particular facility remotely, then just fire the local operators. You don't need them. So this is a very strange situation. However, it also tells us that obviously, very obviously, the people responsible, and I'm certainly not talking about the hackers, but about the people in charge at Oldsmar, they did not learn any lesson from the Ukraine attack, because that was like the poster child attack, where you could see, that's just plain stupid to allow to have a remote access capability for a manned control room. That doesn't make any sense. So they didn't learn that lesson. Now they have learned the lesson the hard way this time. And as you probably have seen, as a first mitigative step, they disabled the remote access capability. Congratulations, folks. You probably should have done that a couple of months earlier, and then you wouldn't look like utter fools right now. So that would have saved you the day if you just didn't have that capability to begin with. That would have prevented the attack. Now let's think about, let's just assume you do need this remote monitoring capability, and probably also remote control capability, which you often do in the water industry. Certainly not when you have a manned operator station, but if there are so many unmanned facilities out there in water that they certainly do need this remote access or remote control capability. Now, guess what? There are 150 ways how to make it happen in a secure manner. It's 2021, and this technology is out there for a couple of decades. It's going to cost you, let's just say, $1,000 or $2,000 extra, but then you won't have this problem. And I don't need to go into detail here, because I'm assuming that most of my viewers are in the cybersecurity realm, so you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about rendezvous architectures, etc. I'm talking about SSL client certificates, so you can make it happen in a secure manner. The people in Oldsmar apparently didn't bother to do that. So, but that's their fault. It's not the hacker's fault who takes advantage of such a situation. What can we tell about the threat actors in this case? Well, first, let's speculate a little bit about the motivations, the intentions, without getting into mind reading. Let's start with a simple question. What's in Oldsmar? Is Oldsmar, does it have something of particular value? I would say, without wanting to intimidate the good people of Oldsmar, probably not. So it's probably not really a high value target. And that would lead me to believe that this is most likely an opportunistic attack. The exception would be that we were talking about an insider who had the access credentials, who had insider knowledge, and then that would certainly be very simple to categorize. But if we don't assume that this is an insider job, then you would guess that since the target apparently is not really significant, it was an opportunistic hack because the target might have been exposed in Shodan. It might have been improperly secured using default credentials or easy to guess credentials. And again, this is something that you would know already, even though you wouldn't, it wouldn't necessarily have been reported at this point in time, if only for the reason that it might be an utter embarrassment for the organization in this case. So I would expect that this is opportunistic, be it some random weirdo who was just playing around without necessarily knowing what he was doing. So I would, in this scenario, I would speculate that this weirdo guy probably wouldn't even know what the chemical agent in question does. So that would be scenario one. Scenario two would be, we are talking about a nation state affiliated group, most likely affiliated to some nation state in the Middle East, starting with an I in the name and ending with Iran in the name, because we have seen that already a couple of years ago. So you will remember, if you're in OT security, the Baumann hack attack in I think it was 2015. So in that case, Iranian hackers attacked a small floodgate in upstate New York. Also apparently an opportunistic attack. And here's the thing. That in the back in the days in 2015, that was apparently not done to cause any real damage. And because it wouldn't have been possible anyway, it was just such an insignificant floodgate. Even if the attackers would have succeeded, they would have accomplished nothing with that, rather than making fools out of themselves. And I would say a very similar scenario here. Now, why would Iranian-linked threat actors, I'm just speculating here, this is just a hypothesis, but why would they do it? And here is the kicker. That makes so perfect sense for them, because it's not about causing actual damage to US critical infrastructure. It's to transport propaganda. It's for propaganda purposes, in order to scare people using the help of our good media folks who are so dumb in just doing their bidding, Iran's bidding, or similar threat actors, in blowing these incidents out of proportion and thereby scaring the public. So that is a very simple case that we have seen already in 2015. Let's just say, again, I'm speculating here, Iranian hackers, just they traverse Shodan, they traverse some forums for engineers, etc. And they probably sit around all day trying to hack their way into what they consider US critical infrastructure, which in many cases will just be honeypots. But anyway, sometimes it's their lucky day. And from a pure material perspective, you would say, I mean, guys, you just showed once more how incompetent and utterly stupid you are. But that's too easy, because that's not the actual objective of such an attack, if it had that background. The objective is to scare the US public, or even the general public, even outside the United States, in order to make Iran or similar regimes appear as more potent in the cyber realm than they actually are, in order to create a deterrent. So that would be, I would guess, a likely explanation. And if that holds some merits, I would expect that at some point in the near future, we would even see a something like of taking credit. So some hacker group might come out and claim responsibility because they're proud of that, not necessarily proud of their of them being unable to cause any real damage, but just to make a point, and knowing fairly well that the sensationalistic media will just do their bidding and blow this out of proportion so that they really get this propaganda value. So that is what I wanted to share with you, rather as a very spontaneous and fresh take on things. I would expect that in the next couple of days we will learn more about that case, and probably there will be some new insights, and I might update that, but I just wanted to share this for now.